You all a couple of minutes to get situated. We're very happy that you all are here. My name is Jenny Castillo, and I am the Regional Engagement Director with the Southern Economic Advancement Project. Here at SEAP, we have been able to travel a couple of different places in the South to get to know a little bit about some of the issues and gaps that are in existence between Black farmers and resources. So we wanted to bring together folks who are in this field, who are able to provide us with a better lens of what is available and what kind of help is available to farmers across the South. So we are very happy that you all are here. I'm going to give a couple of more minutes for folks to join us, and so it's not too boring and you're hearing your own voice. I'm going to play a little bit of background music just to help you out. So we'll get started in just a moment. Well, here we go. Well, thanks for honoring that moment. It's always good to have music in the background because it calms people's nerves. Maybe it's just mine, but we're very happy that you all are here again. I am Jenny Castillo with the Southern Economic Advancement Project. And as I mentioned, we have worked with the great leaders that are on this call today to bring you, our Black farmers across the Southern region, more information about resources available to you all. And we are very happy to have Leader Abrams here today with us, as well as these amazing leaders that we've been working with. So the Southern Economic Advancement Project started in 2019, and we spent our time wanting to connect with organizations to understand some of the gaps that were in existence between what policy is available and what resources are available to the people. With that, I had the pleasure of meeting Cherie Bryant from SAAFON and Forks and Forks to let us know about some of the issues that she felt that were very important for us to have a conversation. So today's conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about what that looked like last year when we first met. And then we're going to hear from Leader Abrams, Executive Director of SEAP, and then Katherine Stewart from the Office of Congresswoman Alma Adams. And then Jacqueline Davis-Slay, the Deputy Director of Partnerships and Public Engagement with the USDA, and then finishing off with Brennan, Washington, from the Southern Sustainable Agricultural Research and Education Center. We will then have time for questions. So we want to encourage all of our folks that are listening on this call to utilize the chat function to ask any questions that you have. And please note that this program is being recorded and will be available on our website after the program. It is my honor today to bring to you all Cherie Bryant and Tammy Harris. Cherie is the founder of Folks and Forks, a dining and events service at Mountain Laurel Farm. She is from the barbarian town of Wieden in Germany. Her family moved to the U.S. when she was a child, and she studied culinary arts at the Art Institute of Washington in Arlington, Virginia, before beginning her 12-year career in corporate food service. Tammy Harris is the Georgia Network Coordinator, and she comes to us from the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension Services, where her duties included assisting local farmers to access all of the services and resources available through agriculture, natural resources, family and consumer services, and 4-H programs. Both of them have come here from SAAFON, the Southeastern African American Farmers Organic Network, and it is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Atlanta. They are a network of Black farmers in the Southeastern United States who are committed to culturally relevant, ancestrally guided, and ecologically sustainable agricultural-based living. SAAFON works to strengthen Black farmers' collective power to build an alternative food system rooted in progressive values. Cherie and Tammy, please unmute yourself and let us know a little bit about the work that you all have been doing.
Well, thank you, Jenny, so much for that introduction. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. To Leader Abrams, thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you again. I wish I could see you again in person like I had you at the farm last year, but I'll settle for this. At this time, I just want to also thank Tammy Harris, who's actually been a mentor for me in this process of becoming a new farmer. I was very brand new when I started my business of Folks and Forks, and her guidance and trying to understand organic and sustainable farming has been very, very helpful in my plight to become a better farmer. And I also wanted to acknowledge that Southeastern African American Farmers Organic Network. We had a forum at the farm, Mountain Laurel Farm, last year in September 17th to be exact. And that was such a momentous occasion for me because that was my very first civic engagement event that I've ever had. So to have such prestigious guests, Ms. Leader Stacey Abrams, come to our farm and speak to all of the Black farmers and our North resident Georgia neighbors. Of course, come out and just hear what our challenges are and what we are facing with when it comes to the systemic economic issues, the gaps of the lot of farmers are going through when it comes to systemic socioeconomic disparities and disproportionate issues that we're facing. Forgive me, I'm starting to ramble a little bit because I am still looking at Leader Abrams, and I'm just so excited to be here with you guys. But I wanted to just also acknowledge Melody Lothridge, who is the owner of Mountain Laurel Farm, and she's been my business partner in this. And so I'm just happy that we're able to have this continued discussion of what we can do to provide some better resources for all of us here in this discussion today.
Thank you, Cherie. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you, okay, great. All right, thanks. First of all, Jenny, that was a fantastic introduction. You kind of took a lot of what I was going to say. Just to kind of give some background, yes, we started in 2006 under the leadership of Mama Cynthia Hayes, and our organization since 2006 has been working to strengthen Black farmers' collective power and to build an alternative food system that is rooted in progressive values. So we are a regionally based network of Black farmers, and we are committed to ecologically sustainable farming practices. We're also very farmer-centered and farmer-led in our approach to farmer service organization work. And other than that, as far as introductions, I believe that as far as I'll go into it now, but it is a pleasure to be with you guys. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I really appreciated the opportunity last year to be a part of that forum. And so I look forward to what we have in store tonight. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Now, everybody knows Leader Stacey Abrams, but let me tell you how much I just adore and admire everything that Leader Abrams has done, not only for me as a young woman, but for the whole state of Georgia and honestly, the whole United States and practically the world. She's incredible. I really don't have to read her whole bio, but I will just tell you that it is through her leadership as executive director of SEAP that we have been able to travel across the South to hear directly from constituents, from organizations, from folks who want to see change, and they trust us because of the name of Stacey Abrams. And so it is an honor to have her here tonight to hear from you all. So Leader Abrams, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and I appreciate you not doing a more effusive introduction. Cherie and Tammy, it's always a pleasure to see you two. And I look forward to being able to see you in person again soon. And to everyone who's joining us, I want to say thank you again. I hope what you've seen from me over the last 3 years demonstrates my deep commitment to Black farmers. As you know, outside of my C3 work, certainly as a political leader, I've done my best to understand what's happening, to connect to people as they tell their stories, and to make certain that when opportunities are available, that we are sharing that information. When I did not become governor in 2018, as many of you know, I started a few organizations, Fair Fight, which focuses on voter suppression, Fair Count, which focuses on the 2020 census and redistricting, and the Southern Economic Advancement Project, which is the work that we do to strengthen the South. And there is no greater emblematic moment for what we need to be doing than the service that is owed to Southern farmers, to Black Southern farmers. We know there's been a 98% decline in Black farmers since 1928. We also know that the 45,000 Black farmers that currently are engaged in agricultural practices today, that 90% are located in the Southeast. That's the region that the SEAP covers. That's the region that I care about. And we want to make certain that the services and supports are available. We have been doing the work we can to expand information, to provide information, but also to raise awareness. As I said, we've sent out information about opportunities. We commissioned an article regarding COVID-19 because we wanted people to understand how Black farm families are facing a very different dynamic in the midst of COVID than so many others. But we also understand what you're looking for, that you want direct resources, that you need stronger and better customer service, that you need to know what's in the new farm bill, that you need to understand how to share this information with your colleagues, and that you've been seeking justice for decades, 18 years for some. And so what we want to do is bring together folks who can get these resources directly to you. We want to make certain that we are reaching out to the congressional leaders who are focused on these issues and focused on your needs. And we want to figure out what other programs and organizations are available to assist and how we can be a part of it. And so I'm very grateful to be in this conversation with you all. I'm grateful for the work that SAAFON is doing. I welcome Katherine Stewart and the work that she's going to share with us. And certainly I want to say thank you to Jacqueline Davis-Slay for being here from the USDA, and to Brennan Washington for being here from the Southern Sustainable Agriculture and Research and Education. And what we want to do is to spend today figuring out what else we can do, and to reaffirm that SEAP is a partner that understands the importance and the vitality of Black farmers, particularly given that this is actually one of our fastest growing areas, that there are more and more Black farmers every year, but we cannot replicate the mistakes of the past. And we have to resolve the challenges that we've seen and prepare for a bright future. Because if we want economic advancement in the South, that begins with Black farmers. And so I'm excited to be a part of this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Leader Abrams. We will now hear from Katherine Stewart, who is the Interim Legislative Director for Congresswoman Alma Adams, Vice Chair of the House Committee on Agriculture. Katherine, you may now unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to attempt to share a PowerPoint here, so bear with me one moment. Does that look good to everyone? Awesome. So today I'm joining and really appreciate the invitation to be here today in Southern Economic Advancement Projects, hosting today's event and for inviting me to participate. I'm going to give a quick overview of what Congresswoman Adams as Vice Chair of the House Agriculture Committee and Congress more broadly have been doing to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 and what proposed legislation could do to close some of the existing gaps that we know are there in the current response. The current response, the Congresswoman has been really supportive of the relief bills that have come before the House so far, which have included important funding for farmers and ranchers, but she does believe that there's more that needs to be done, especially for small farms and farmers of color, which is why she's recently introduced legislation to address some of those issues. And I'll talk about those later. But now we'll first touch on what Congress has done so far. We'll be sharing this PowerPoint at the end, so no need to feel too stressed about the large quantity of text in here. The first bill that Congress passed was the Families First Coronavirus Act. It included a lot of nutritional focused provisions, from $500 million for WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children's Program, to $400 million for food banks, and language to ensure that K through 12 students don't miss out on school meals during the coronavirus and their school closures. The CARES Act was the second piece of legislation that Congress passed. That was on March 27th. The CARES Act includes a provision instructing USDA to direct payments to farmers, giving $9.5 billion to assist specialty crop, livestock, dairy producers, and producers who support local food systems. This funding in the CARES Act, along with $6.5 billion in borrowing authority, $3 billion in funding from the first coronavirus relief package, were all used by USDA to create the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program, which is still open for a few days and provides producers direct payments based on price loss. The CARES Act also had a few small business provisions which are relevant for farmers because they are able to apply for them. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is open to small agricultural businesses with less than 500 employees that are experiencing losses due to the coronavirus. These loans are available and can provide up to 6 months of businesses' working capital. The other program in the small business space that was authorized by the CARES Act is the Paycheck Protection Program. Unfortunately, applications for that program closed on August 8th, but there is $130 million of funding still left in that program, which may be extended by upcoming legislation. Speaking of upcoming legislation, I guess this isn't upcoming because the House has already passed it, but the last package that went through the House of Representatives was the HEROES Act. This is a really comprehensive bill. Unfortunately, it hasn't been taken up by the Senate since the House passed it on May 15th, but it is the current Democratic proposal and the ongoing negotiations with the Senate and the White House. So it's important to know about. The HEROES Act includes a variety of provisions to support farmers and ranchers. It has livestock and dairy provisions, including emergency assistance for producers who had to depopulate market-ready livestock, $500 million for emergency dairy donation program to pay for milk to be processed and donated to food banks. It also has specialty crop provisions, conservation provisions, and nutrition provisions as well. Those include $500 million to support local farmers, markets, and local food outlets, $50 million for the Farming Opportunities Training and Outreach Grants program at USDA, $16.5 billion for direct payments to agricultural producers whose commodities were impacted by the coronavirus, and $28 million in block grants to existing local farm stress programs. So a lot of really good stuff in there. On the small business end, it would extend the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program that we discussed, that's currently closed, from June 30th to December 31st, since we know the impacts of coronavirus will definitely continue through the end of the year, and also adds in some provisions to make it a little more user-friendly, including extending the amount of time that borrowers can spend the funds from the program and still be eligible for loan forgiveness. Those provisions, unfortunately, have been on hold since May, but Congresswoman Abrams remains hopeful that negotiations will be successful and that we can pull together a package that's helpful to everyone that's still struggling because of this pandemic. One thing that she's been working on to try to bridge some of the gaps that exist in our current response is the Local and Regional Farmer Market and Market Support Act. She introduced it a few weeks ago. We know that COVID-19 has caused massive economic disruptions for food and agricultural producers, and small and medium farms selling in local markets have been particularly hard hit. One of our local organizations, the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association, found that over 75% of small farms in the Carolinas had seen their revenue declined due to COVID-19, including more than 1/3 whose sales dropped by more than $1,000 per week. Unfortunately, the SEAFOP structure as exists has been difficult for a lot of these farmers to utilize. The Federation of Southern Cooperatives, who we worked with on the bill, surveyed its membership and found that 73% of its farmers hadn't heard of it or hadn't applied. So to try to help address these issues, the Congresswoman introduced this legislation. It has 4 main parts and would directly send aid to local and regional food producers and markets to help them weather the impacts of the coronavirus. The first part is $1 billion in direct relief aid program for small and mid-sized farms. It's a little bit different than the existing program because it would be based off of growers' historic revenue rather than their price loss, and would be targeted to provide a greater proportion of aid to smaller farmers. It also includes $25 million in emergency grants for farmers markets and local food enterprises and cooperatives to help them make updates and changes they need to respond to the pandemic. An additional $25 million would go to farmers for the same thing on their end to respond to, the new market situation. And $50 million would go towards USDA's Farming Opportunities Training and Outreach program to provide outreach and technical support to beginning and minority farmers applying for the program, and other assistance as well. These programs would all have a 20% set aside for minority farmers and minority-owned businesses and cooperatives. The bill also specifies that no farm number will be required to receive a direct payment, and it prohibits FSA from offsetting a grower's payment because they owe any money to the USDA. The Congresswoman was proud to introduce this legislation, which would address some of the pressing issues we've heard about in North Carolina and across the US, and she's hopeful that it can be included in an upcoming package. To end, I just want to link to a few resources. Again, we'll send this around afterwards so you can access them directly. The main one I want to point out is our office. Please feel free to reach out to me or our office more broadly. We're always here to listen if there's any concerns or questions that we can be helpful with. And thank you again for letting me join today.
Thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Jacqueline Davis-Slay, who assumed the position of Deputy Director for the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement with the USDA. The office was established to rapidly expand outreach to America's agricultural community and facilitate greater access to USDA programs. In addition, OPPE serves as the lead agent for USDA partnership and outreach activities with tasking and reporting authority to direct, coordinate, and control all target programs. Jacqueline has over 20 years of federal service with experience in legislative and policy development, statistic analysis, fiscal and program management, service delivery, and marketing, with a particular interest in developing innovative partnerships and opportunities to assist vulnerable populations, socially disadvantaged, beginning and limiting resource producers. Jacqueline, you may unmute yourself.
Thank you, Jenny. And I would like to thank the panel for being here. Katherine, great to see you in person. We participated in a forum together a couple of weeks ago. Thank you, Stacey. It's very nice to see and meet you via internet. I'm excited to hear about your program and the work that you're doing across the country to really service our African-American producers. I also have a colleague on the phone. He is the state conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service in Georgia, and I want to thank Terrence for being here. But on behalf of Secretary Sonny Perdue and Mr. Mike Beatty, Director of the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, it is an honor to be here to talk to our producers. I am from the South, so this has a special place in my heart. As Jenny said, I have actually about close to 30 years of experience at USDA. I've worked across the spectrum of USDA agency, and so it was a blessing when I was asked to come serve as the Deputy Director for the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement. OPPE, I'll refer to it as that from here on out, is the lead outreach and partnership agency for the USDA and pretty much the entire federal sector because of the report to the president on rural America. So we are excited to bring to you those resources in a collaborative, holistic fashion that really can assist not just our producers, our farmers and ranchers, but our communities as a whole. USDA itself alone has 27 agencies and offices that's available for customers across the country. We are known as the People's Department, and it is always a great pleasure to talk about those resources. You know, as a Black farmer, you can access multiple resources from multiple agencies through our programs. And so we offer services in the way of grant loan combos and contracts that are available through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Again, we have 27 agencies in office. My office, our office, Mike's in my office, we are the office that's responsible for getting you that information in a holistic fashion, not just providing information through a single agency and its programs, but really bringing that whole gamut of USDA resources to you all. And how we do this through the facilitations of summits and workshops. We have USDA liaison placed on our minority serving institution camps. We're housed at the 1890 land grant institutions, which are those institutions that are in the southeast part of the country. And so we have USDA liaisons that really work with the communities, the farmers and ranchers, to really bring those resources to them based on their self-identified needs and challenges. And so this is a locally led bottoms-up process. You know, when I talk about resources that a farmer or rancher could use, and in particular our African Americans, we have special set-asides and priority scoring for our African American producers. And so, you know, of course, you know that a producer would start really accessing USDA resources. Your first stopping point would be the Farm Service Agency, and through that agencies you would obtain, of course, a farm and tract number, which would allow you to access resources at our other agency. And I'll just go through how one producer could access multiple agencies and multiple programs at that agencies. And like I said, working with our USDA liaison, working with that State Food and Agriculture Council, and working with that institution of higher learning, where we've established what we call centers of community and prosperity. These are the types of tools and resources that we want to make available. And so, like I said, you would start at your farm service agencies, obtain your farm and tract number, but then from there are programs at that farm service agency. That is the agency, that's our loan making agency. And so you could possibly access the micro loan program, the farm operating loan, the farm ownership loan, the non-assistant insured producers program. So these are just a few of the resources that's available. These agencies, let me say this, are located, most of them are located in a central location. NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, does have offices in almost every county. Some of our agencies share, they actually represent multiple counties. So, but NRCS, which Terrence is on the phone again, I'll say, is still one of those agencies that do have offices at every county. So leaving the Farm Service Agency, let's go over most of the time right across the hall to the Natural Resources Conservation Service. There you can access the Conservation Technical Assistance Program. You can access the Environmental Quality System Program. And that program, EQIP, as I refer to it, is that program that provides technical and financial assistance to farmers and ranchers to address their natural resource concern. You can leave there and travel over to rural development, that's also sometimes located in that same service center, and access the Value Added Producers Grant Program. They have a Rural Energy for America program. VAPG is that program that provide grant, I think in the amount of 50% cost, 50% grant, that allows you to change the figure of that product. So say, for instance, you're growing tomatoes, where you can make ketchup. You can use that program to do a feasibility study, obtain working capital. If you're a producer, a livestock producer, the Real Energy for America program is a program that probably would be of interest to you. It has grants and loans that address renewable energy and energy efficiency type projects. Leave and Reap, same producer, you know, whatever product that you're growing, could actually then utilize the agriculture marketing service program. And so they have an organic program. They also have a local food promotion program, the farmers market program. They have the EBT card access, where they help producers. They will actually pay for the equipment to allow producers to sell their products at farmers markets. So they'll pay for that phone and a little swiper. We also have the National Institute of Food and Agriculture that a African-American Black farmer could use. They have a cooperative extension program. They also have a beginning farmers and ranchers program that is available for institutions of higher learning and nonprofits. But at those programs, you can really get into the details of what it means and how to become a farmer and some of the resources that are available through there. So you will work with that university or that nonprofit to really get into the educational side of farming. The extension service also that's a part of NIFA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Is also is available too. And so with that extension component, you know, they take and pair new technology, new research, and bring that, pair that with practices and opportunities that's available for farming. So, you know, we really want you all to take advantage of those resources. Then we have the risk management agency, and that is the insurance-based agency. It does not actually offer insurance. It actually works with insurance company, but they do have a program called the Whole Food Protection Program. And a lot of our specialty crop producers can access that program. Some of the products that has insurance that insurance is available for, those specialty crops programs are not normally at those insurance companies. So with this Whole Food Protection Plan program, our specialty crop producer has a way to insure their crops. But I don't want to forget about the National Agricultural Statistics Service. That is the agency that does the statistics. So having you counted, being counted is very, very important. We want you all to commit to filling out those surveys, because that is one of the ways that Katherine can assist with the appropriated dollars getting down to you all. That is the way you are counted, getting your numbers up. If you're there and you are a farmer, a Black farmer, you know, we want to make sure that you are counted. You know, we know we hear all the time that the number of Black farmers, we know that the average age is about 57. One of the things that I push and I promote is really for our Black farmers to keep the land, to stay on the land, do not sell the land. You know, another thing that we promote at OPPE is that to look at your farm as a business. And so we partner with the Small Business Administration. They have a small business development grant where they're housed on about 900 different sites across the country at institutions of higher learning. We want you all to start utilizing those resources there, because there you can develop a business plan. You can you know, do record keeping. We're also record keeping. You can look to find working capital. Those locations are available specifically for that. We can get you that information. We're also partnering with the IRS. They reached out for it. When they called me, I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? You know, are they about to ask for more tax dollars? But they have programs, and they're utilizing our office as a resource to get the word out on an economic impact payment. A lot of our citizens, they are not accessing those payments. And so if you're a non-filer, if you know someone that's homeless, if you know someone that may be in a shelter, those funds are still available through the CARES Act to the end of the year. So, utilizing our office, OPPE, we're partnering with all of our federal sector really to get the word out on the resources that's available. I look at SEAP as a 501c3. I'm hoping that you all applied for the 2501 outreach and assistance to social disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. One of the things that I am committed to is making that program what it was intended to be. And so that is our program where organizations such as SEAP could apply for a grant to get the word out on the resources that's available through the USDA. I am here. I am committed to our African American farmers. I'm committed to USDA. I'm committed to the state of Georgia and the US. And I'm committed to our Mississippi farmers. I have to throw that out because I am a Mississippi girl. So, but utilizing the tools and resources that USDA has to offer, utilizing our offer as a convener and a facilitator of getting the word out on those resources is my mission and vision. And, we've set up a mission where we want to foster hope and opportunity, build assets, and create wealth. And who does not want that? And that's what these resources, making you aware of them. I say it all the time, folks don't know what they don't know. And so it is my mission, it is my vision, it is my passion to get the word out on these resources that USDA has to offer. And for African-American producers, a lot of times you can get up to 90% cost share at equal. So there are some special priority points, there's some special scoring that's available for you. And I tell you, listen, sometimes you may not get funded, sometimes the best customer service is not provided. But keep asking, keep going in. That it's our job to provide you those resources. It's our job to provide you that information. I want to give you my personal contact information. You can reach me at jacqueline.davis-slay@usda.gov. My cell phone is 202-422-2551. That's my responsibility. So anytime you have questions on USDA and resources that's available, please feel free to reach out and call me. And I promise you, I will connect you with those folks, such as Mr. Terrence Rudolph, who has, agreed to stay on this call with me when question comes up about cost sharing. But we are here for you. We're committed to you. And I am committed to you as a USDA employee. And now Jenny is nodding her head. She's telling me to be quiet because I can keep going. But I am committed, and please feel free to contact me at any time.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I did put your email on there. You went a little fast for the phone number, so you might have to put it in me. But thank you so much. Next up, we're going to hear from Brennan, Washington. Brennan works in close liaison with limited resource minority outreach farmers and organizations, including NGOs, community groups, and cooperatives across the southern region, as well as 1890 land-grant institutions in promoting the Southern Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education grants, programs, providing sustainable agricultural educational resources, enhancing quality grant recipients, networking with regional partners, and building new relationships. Brennan, you may unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank SEAP for having me today. I think I heard about one of your meetings not too long ago when you guys had it. I just didn't have the opportunity to participate. But as Jenny said, my name is Brennan Washington. I'm the 1890 Land Grant Liaison and Southeastern Outreach Coordinator for Southern SAAFON, which stands for Sustainable Agriculture and Research Education. We are primarily a grants-making organization. We are not a USDA agency, although our money does come from NIFA. The money is given to 4 land grant universities in the 4 areas nationally that we serve. So in the Southeastern region, that's the University of Georgia in conjunction with Fort Valley State University and the Kerr Center in Oklahoma. And in my job, I work with 1890 land grant universities, nonprofit organizations, and directly with minority farmers and farmers of color to advance sustainable ag. And sustainable ag, we define as you have an environmental leg where you're not degrading the land or the water. The second leg is financial, which is very important to me. I am a farmer. I always like to tell people that. My wife and I have owned a small farm above Atlanta since 2005. So you know, I come to you not only as a person who does this work professionally, but also as a farmer. I was out planting broccoli in college this morning, actually. And also social sustainability. How are we making our communities healthier? So we do that. Our primary mission is to fund grant programs. And we have 7 or 8 different programs. We have 2 now that will be open now that will be of interest to farmers. A farmer can apply up to $15,000 to do some self-directed research on their own farm. I got involved with the SEAP program about 10 years ago because I want to know why we couldn't grow European style melons down here in the South. And nobody gave me a good answer. Somebody told me about the SEAP program. I got a $9,500 grant. We have that. We have our on-farm research grant. We have our larger grants, our research and education grants, which nonprofits and universities can apply for to do some specific research about any areas of sustainable ag, as well as a component in there for, especially for the nonprofits that are on this call, to do direct farmer training. You can get up to $50,000 to do direct farmer training. We fund about $6 million here in the South annually. And then we have our special grant programs. We just gave out, we just approved a large systems research grant to an 1890 consortium to do some research around goats. So that's a little bit about Southern SAAFON. The other thing we do is provide sponsorships for conferences, travel scholarships to go to conferences. Obviously, we're not doing that now because that's not happening. We are about to introduce what we're calling the Sustainable Ag Leadership Program, where we're going to be providing small grants of up to $3,000 to leaders in their communities to help them, excuse me, either get more education about something that they want to learn about sustainable ag, or to use that money to train people that they're currently working with about something that probably they didn't have the funding to do. But if you don't mind me sharing my screen, because another thing I've been doing over the last 10 years is I've been a prolific grant reviewer. So Ms. Jacqueline covered some of the grant programs. So you see, we have 7 programs. AMS has FMPP, Local Food Promotion and Farmers Market Promotion. There's a Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program, Food Nutrition Service. We wrote a grant here in Georgia to get funding not only to pay for the equipment, but also to put staffing to help us do research around EBT and SNAP programs throughout the state of Georgia at farmers markets. These are programs that, quite frankly, Black farmers and Black organizations do not apply to as much as we should be applying to. Like I said, I've, with the exception of 2 grants that are on this page, I've reviewed for most of these programs, and it's sometimes very disappointing to see that we're not, A, sticking in applications, and B, when we do, we're not getting funded. And a lot of that is due to the capacity of some of our nonprofits and even some of our 1890s in the South to be able to successfully compete for these grants. And that's something that I'm trying to work on. We've been getting better at share and getting Black farmers and Black organizations to successfully compete for our grants. But I really would like to see us do some other work, because one of the things that I'm intensely interested in, and COVID, while it's been very, very disruptive to farmers, it has also shown a light on some exciting opportunities that we have. A lot of small farmers are actually reporting increases in sale and reporting increases in interest in local food. As Black people, we need to start to own parts of the supply chain. We just can't grow and we can't farmers, as somebody once said, we can't farmers market our way into making our farms more successful. We need to own other areas of the supply chain that make our Black farmers successful. You know, for example, I've been on a mission in Georgia. If you're a poultry farmer, if you raise pasture-raised poultry here in Georgia, and you want to make a living at it, you have to take your chickens out of the state of Georgia to get them processed so you can sell, because we have no legal processing within the state. And this is a problem not only across the entire Southeast, but it's a problem across the country. And I've been working with Gary Black at the Department of Ag to try and address these issues. But I really think it's something we need to turn our attention to. It's not only empowering our farmers to be better farmers, but also how do we start to own those other parts of the supply chain that have neglected us or taken advantage of Black farmers in the past. And that's something that these programs can help us do. The other thing that I'm trying to work on is how do we build the capacity of our NGOs to compete for programs like this and to help them do the work that they do. They don't have the resources that, say, larger white organizations have. So how do we do that? I know we are sponsoring some work with Tuskegee, a young professor at Tuskegee University, who next month is going to be convening of phone calls with nonprofit organizations across the Southeast. We just had a call today. We're getting representatives from organizations in every of the 13 states that I work in, as well as the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And it's mainly, how can we help you build your capacity to do this type of work? And we want to hear from you. I have a particular interest in seeing that once I hear issues come up, okay, well, we can sort of direct some SARE grant funding to address some of these issues. You know, most notably being, for example, we work with a consortium of 1890 universities, and they were successful in applying for a grant to study culturally relevant disaster preparedness and recovery, you know, something that applies to our farmers in a way that'll be responsive to the needs of our farmers, Black farmers. There are more instances that I know we just invited back an organization to look at technology and how that's either an impediment or a way that Black farmers can access many of these programs and advance the interests of Black farmers. You know, what I've been hearing through COVID, and keep in mind I cover 13 states, is that the transition of a lot of these USDA information flows, as well as access to these programs, have been shifting to online. That has put an undue burden on A, rural farmers, B, rural Black farmers, C, rural Black elderly farmers. It's been a major problem. And so they're going to study about how we can do that. You know, we just funded Virginia State. We're going to be funding that. They're going back to the old communication method of sending out a newsletter. So we need to be able to talk with folks. For you NGOs that are on the phone, I know SAAFON. In fact, the last conversation I had with Cynthia Hayes, we were talking about doing some collaborative work down in the Virgin Islands. And it was like a couple of weeks after that, I got the news that she had unfortunately passed. But we're here to help you. And that's what we're here to do. In addition to our grant programs, and I'll wrap up with this, in addition to our grant programs, we do provide what we call de-obligated funds, where we can help put on sponsorships, where we can help you do education. It's not a grant at all. You just fill out a form, tell us what you're going to use the money for, and provided we have it in our coffers and we think it's a good project and it advances sustainable ag, we can help fund you. So that's it. And the other thing I will say in closing is that not only do we need to be applying for these programs, but we also need to get involved behind the scenes. You know, I've been on grant panels where you could count the number of Black folks in the room on like this, 3 fingers, there'd be 3 or 4 of us. And we can't have a say in how this money gets spent and what projects are applicable and worthy for Black farmers if we're not in the room. So that's another thing we need to start doing. So with that, I'll turn it back to you guys.
Well, thank you, Brennan. Thank you to Jacqueline, again to Cherie, and to Tammy and Katherine. Thank you all so much. We've got a couple of questions that have come in, and I'm going to direct the first question to Jacqueline and to Brennan. And the question is, the USDA, specifically NCRS, has a cost-sharing program for farm infrastructure builds, fencing, hoop houses, etc. However, the cost-sharing program requires farmers finance the cost up front and afterwards be reimbursed by NCRS. Oftentimes, this upfront cost obligation keeps farmers from being able to participate in the program. Are there any recommendations or solutions to this problem? And I'll start with you, Jacqueline.
And so, yeah, that is a question that Terrence Rudolph, who's our state conservationist, he is on the line. As it relates to social disadvantage, which African-American producers are part of that ethnic, racial and ethnic group, they can, and Terrence, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have to provide that upfront cost. There's a percentage that's provided through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And so if you are in Georgia, Terrence Rudolph is the contact that you want to reach out to. And he can, he is a state conservationist for the state of Georgia, and he can really assist you with that question in applying for the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. You know, and so that's like, again, that's a program that provides technical and financial assistance for natural resource needs. And so there are some special incentives for African-American producers. So reach out to Terrence. I will get his contact information to Jenny, and we would definitely share that with you all.
And Jacqueline, if I can ask, if we can get that information, we actually cover, SEAP covers 12 southern states. So if we have that point of contact, because part of what we're going to do is share the information with all the, right now, more than 150 organizations in our network. So we want to be able to provide, but thank you so much for that response.
What I would do is I will get you the list of state conservationists for the entire country. They are available on our website at www.nrcs.usda.gov. And if you click over on state office contact, but I will put it in an email to you and send it out to you. And I'll also share our state executive director for the Farm Service Agency and the state director for the Rural Development Agency.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. The second question is, and I'll throw this open, the person asks, I found that even though I'm a beginning farmer, I still don't meet the criteria for the beginner farmer loan or the socially disadvantaged groups program because I don't have 3 years of a Schedule F. To me, this is a bit trivial and discouraging when looking for support. Any suggestions for a beginning farmer who may have faced the same issue?
Well, as it relates to that requirement, I think that has been, that is a congressional requirement, but we can take a look at, tell them, reach out to me, Jacqueline.davis-slay@usda.gov, or they can give me a call at 202, I'm gonna slow down, Jenny, 422-2551. And we will, I'll reach out to the Farm Service Agency because that's the agency that provides that designation to beginning farmer or rancher, or as a farmer and rancher period. So what we'll do is I'll work with them to see, you know, what flexibility, if any, are there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I just want to add is that as farmers are looking at potential resources out there, usually USDA, FSA are the first stop that people make, and so they get it ingrained in their mind that those rules apply across the board. So, for example, none of our programs require tenure on the land. You know, you just have to have a good research idea come to us, or a good educational program. And it's very important that as you're looking for resources, you really understand what the requirements are and just don't say, well, FSA has this 3 years requirement and I can't apply for any of this money. So just make sure you're taking a good look at all the programs that are out there and what's required.
Thank you. The third question is, I want to grow hemp on my farm and I have not worked the farm in the last 3 years. Is there any way around this requirement? Also, is there any help out there for Black landowners to set up hemp processing plants in Georgia? Not sure who this one goes to.
I probably can answer it partially. So you may not have worked the land, but if that land has a farming history, you want to start with, again, Farm Service Agency. Now, the federal government does not have a lot of authority as it relates to hemp. I don't think we have really any, but we can provide basic information. It is really a state run program, and the authorization and laws that govern it is at the state level. But I do want to add, when it comes to accessing USDA programs, you do have to have that farm and tract number from the Farm Service Agency to access equip in our federal programs. But when it comes to hemp, we don't have a lot, and Katherine may want to chime in, is we don't have a lot of authority and we don't have any assistance financially as it relates to hemp. But the state, you would really have to look at your state government and reach out to your local legislator to see what tools and resources are available at the state level.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. A lot of it is really dependent on your state plan and kind of what each state has implemented. So it's a little bit of a difficult space because a lot of it has been left to state and local governments to determine.
Yeah, I've been following this hemp craze for quite some time now, and across the Southeast. And I would encourage Black farmers who are looking at getting it to do your research very, very carefully. I was at a conference at North Carolina A&T where a processor said that guys who used to grow soybean and tobacco switched to hemp, not understanding that hemp's a bioaccumulator and it sucked every chemical out the land. And so they were trying to get this hemp processed for CBD oils, and the processor couldn't take it. So just make sure, and it's right for Black farmers to be ripped off. So, I would say not only look at what your state regulations are, but really make sure you understand what that business model is that you're going to get into, because it's a good way to lose your land if you're not careful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cherie?
I was just going to say I wanted to piggyback on what Brennan said. I completely agree with him in terms of a lot of research should be needed first. With SAAFON, we have a cluster of farmers in our network in Georgia that are exploring hemp production. And I know that it's pretty costly to get into it. But if you're looking for other folks interested in this industry, then you can also, get in touch with me and I can connect you with the other farmers.
Thank you. Cherie, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I was wanting to ask either Katherine or Jacqueline a quick question in regards to broadband internet speed access. Because in the rural area where the farm is, of course, our rural broadband cost is around $128 a month versus what you have in town where it could be maybe $75, something like that. I'm just giving just a broad idea of how much it costs. But when it comes down to the access of broadband, are we able to look at different options that are available to farmers who don't necessarily have that access and also is not able to really afford just the basic broadband internet speed that is provided to all urban areas or suburban areas?
Well, I'll start off. Our rural development mission area is through our rural business and cooperative service authorized, that's authorized to administer the broadband program. Of course, it's come from the private sector that's applying for those funds and they're normally owned. I know that that's a challenge. For rural America, it is something that USDA have research is being, but
Jackie, can you come a little closer to your computer?
Oh, okay. But that Rural Development Agency, it administers the broadband program. And I know it's a challenge, like I said, and how we help is, getting the word out that the program exists. Of course, companies have to apply for those funds, and just working, trying to provide those incentives for companies to apply for those funds to do that last mile and lay the wire and fiber. And I don't know the terminology very well, but it is something that it's constantly on our mind. We do promote and push that program in every state across the country. And, we are aware of the limitations of our rural constituent base. So, as much as possible, like I said, we do try to get the word out and get that to rural America. But of course, USDA itself does not lay the wire. So, but I do understand. I'm from one of those communities. I'm from a rural community with those high broadband, with those high broadband prices. So I totally feel your pain.
Thank you. I know we're kind of coming up against our hour. What I'm going to do is I've got one more question, and then what we'll do is we'll collect all the questions that were posed. If we didn't get a chance to respond now, we'll get you answers. And we'll also make sure we list these questions with answers and make sure we can circulate it to everyone. And
can I ask one question to Brennan regarding the SAAFON program? I was listening, but with the SAAFON program, you again have to come up front with your funds and be reimbursed. And I find that very difficult also, just as with the EQUIP program. Are they looking at, especially during this time, during the COVID, when our crops were having problems, raising capital for other projects, just staying alive to try and purchase the items within our On the Farm grant program? I've got an extension. I actually got 2 extensions because of a hurricane issue, and then COVID came in. So are there any way that we could get our funds and then go ahead with our On the Farm research? Thank you.
I have to check because I stepped off of the board about 3 years ago when I took this position. But I know when I did my project, you just had to produce an invoice to pay for stuff. So that's a gray area we can talk about, and that's, you know, part of grantsmanship is how do you work around those issues. But we could have a you know, off the record conversation about that.
Thank you, Brennan. I want to say thank you again to all of our panelists. I'm going to close this out by saying thank you to Katherine, to Jacqueline, to Brennan, to Cherie and Tammy, to all of you who've joined today. Thank you for the information, for answering the questions, and for your continued engagement. I did want to, however, plug one issue that I know can be a little bit confusing for Black farmers, but is incredibly important. Right now, we have 2 censuses that are they're sort of floating out there in the ether. The next USDA agricultural census will happen in 2022, but we have the 2020 decennial census that's happening right now. And I want to just separate the 2 out because I think it's really important that we think about this. The next agricultural census, which is conducted by the USDA, happens every 5 years, and it counts U.S. farms and ranches and the people who operate them. It looks at production practices, at income and expenditures, and it's incredibly important that that gets completed. But right now, we're in the midst of the 2020 decennial census that happens every 10 years. It counts every person living in the U.S. regardless of citizenship, and it allocates $1.5 trillion in federal funding every year, including disaster recovery money, including millions of dollars that go to the USDA, money for healthcare, money for education, and it also distributes political power. Right now, as the census winds down, Black populations and rural communities across the South are at risk of being severely undercounted, which means all of these dollars we're talking about that you now know may be available, these are dollars that get allocated in part based on the 2020 census. And a lot of folks are waiting for the enumerators to come and knock on their doors. That probably won't be happening because they are truncating the census. Right now, it's scheduled to end on September 30th, despite the fact that the enumeration process didn't start until August 11th. What that means is that we have to fill in the gap ourselves. And let's be clear, right now, the South is severely undercounted, and in particular, rural areas where African Americans live, where Black farmers work. And if those dollars are cut, that means cuts to disaster recovery, to the roads and bridges you drive on to get your crops to market, all of these issues. And in particular, in South Georgia, it has a workload completion rate of 35%. That means that 65% has not been completed, and we've only got 2.5 weeks. We need you to spread the message to your friends and family that the census ends at the end of this month, and if they do not respond, they will be left behind. You can do it online at my2020census.gov. You can call at 844-330-2020, and they should have delivered a paper form to your home. But we need everyone to be committed to completing the 2020 census, because if this census undercounts us, no matter what the agricultural census tells you, the monies that are distributed to our communities will disappear. And so if you have more questions, you can go to faircount.org to learn more. But I just want to really urge everyone on this call, no matter which state you're in, we should all be in a state of concern, because we've got to get this census done right. If it's not done right, we will be erased, especially Black farmers, and we cannot let that happen. And so with that very impassioned plea, I want to say thank you to Jenny for bringing us together. Thank you to everyone for being on this call. Again, thank you to our panelists. And most of all, thank you to you all for continuing to let SEAP be a part of how we address the needs and challenges of Black farmers. This matters to me as a Mississippi girl myself, and one who grew up in Mississippi, came of age in Georgia, got distracted and went to Texas and into Connecticut, but came back south as soon as humanly possible. I'm committed to getting this work done, and I thank you for your partnership. Jenny and I thank you for all that you do, and we look forward to reconvening again soon. Take care and have a wonderful evening.